Hello and welcome to the Wednesday week. Hello from the other side edition where we speak with the opposition. Today I've got Josh from Gloucestershire Live who's going to tell us all about Forest Green Rovers because I've got to be honest, Josh, I know nothing about Forest Green Rovers apart from the manager and Charlie Savage. So let's just start from the beginning. So how did you end up following Forest Green Rovers? Because I can't imagine that was a nice experience at the start, was it?
No, so I started the gig at the start of the season. Ended up getting the role for Gloucestershire Live this season. So tried to follow them as much as I can, and then managed to get on the BBC Radio Gloucestershire as well to summarise on the commentary. So that was a great way in as well. And it's not been the greatest season on the pitch, but certainly off the pitch, I've been able to get myself into a lot of opportunities, and that's what I'm really delighted about.
Yeah, fantastic. So would you say is this just a step too far? I'd normally ask how's your season going, but we know how the season's going. Not very great. Is it just a step too far for Forest Green Rovers? Double promotion from the National League straight to League One.
At the same time, I think they earned the opportunity. They earned the right to be in this division, but I think starting to believe that at the start of the season was difficult. They had to. I don't think any of the players had really played at League One level before. You had Connor Wickham in scoring goals, to be fair to him, just maybe wasn't the right fit for him. It certainly benefited both parties, Connor Wickham, because he got fit again. He was scoring goals and he put himself back on the map. But at the same time, when he left at New Year, I think you could kind of see it coming at the same time. So maybe just a few parts didn't really work out this season. A bit of mismanagement in areas. I haven't really got the recruitment spot on so far, and made a lot of changes in January. Just there was chief executive moved on back end of last year, so there's just been a lot of change, and obviously Duncan Ferguson coming in, replacing the manager. There's just been so much in the way of a lack of continuity that has really affected them on the pitch, I think.
Yes, they lost Rob Edwards, didn't they, in the summer, which was like a big blow, and because he was like a big part of getting promoted out of the conference into League Two, and obviously he led you to the title last season, which is huge. So him leaving, who did they replace him with?
So Ian Birch was start of the season, so he
was he like their assistant, or did you actually recruit him in?
No, he was recruited. He was back end of last season. He was going for the playoffs with Notts County,
right?
And I think they got knocked out by, I think it was Grimsby at home. I don't think he'd already moved, but I think the offer from Forest Green was due to come for Ian Birch, and I think they'd kind of seen him as the next man to come in. And then Ian came along. Was a lovely guy. Ian got on really well with Ian, and I think everything he did meant well. Did go through a couple of stages where it was tough. Young family. He was travelling quite a fair distance to get to games, and it wasn't pretty at times. But Ian moved on in January. He's now at Anderlecht, which is a bit of an odd one, but he's worked in Scandinavia.
Oh, yeah. If travelling to get Forest Green Rovers was a long commute, Belgium seems all right.
Yeah, and then he's managed to get I think it's assistant coach at Anderlecht. So best of luck to him. And what he moves on to, like you said, it's a hell of a trek to get over to Belgium as well.
Yeah. So let's just hit on the so Connor Wickham. He came in. I completely forgot he played for you. Actually, now I just remember that goal from halfway line he scored in the FA Cup. Did he just look too good for you when he was playing for you, or?
I think part of his game didn't suit what Forest Green needed to be. I think you've probably seen Connor Wickham firsthand as well.
Yeah.
At the same time, his style of play is very, if the ball's not at his feet, he's not really in the game kind of thing, or not into him. He's never going to run the channels or anything like that. But he did. Once you get the ball into the box, you score goals. He did score goals, and you look at the players who are top scorers this season, and Connor Wickham is still up there. So I think that's just a pointer to say, well, there's not been enough goals throughout the team either. And if Connor Wickham didn't score, and then that was kind of the feeling that you were going to get. Problem was didn't really have the ball in the final third enough, as you can probably tell by the amount of goals that has been scored this season. Just couldn't keep the ball and couldn't sustain tackles long enough. I think sometimes when we're going away to some of the bigger, nicer grounds, I don't think the belief is there to really capitalise on any spells of pressure. For example, going to Plymouth last week, a couple of really good opportunities to counter-attack. You just feel a little bit more confidence in the group.
Yeah.
A few wins, just a couple of draws on the road sometimes just helps out. No way since July the 30th away at Bristol Rovers is a pretty damning stat.
Yeah. I can remember when you came to Hillsborough, we won 5-0. And we didn't play particularly well that game, even though we won 5-0. And I thought there were opportunities for Forest Green to actually like attack us a bit more as well in that game. Like you just hit the nail on the head there, like you said, probably no belief that they can do it for some reason. Before we get into the current squad, let's just talk about the journey to League One. Were you a big part of that? Were you following that at all before you got the gig at BBC?
I followed it, but mainly as what Forest Green were kind of. They were coming up the leagues very ambitious, and because of the way they set up the club, and Dale Vince being who he is, and vegan enthusiast and everything to do with the club, you kind of take a little bit of notice. But I wouldn't say I was following it closely by any means, and followed a little bit last year to the fact that they were absolutely flying in the league early stages. They thought they were definitely there, and then had a real tough spell in a time where you thought, are they going to throw it away? But they ended up winning the title and on the final day. So that was a big moment. But you just look at enough of that team now, that the team is hardly anything like that season. I think they just couldn't keep together too many of the same players. For example, we were on commentary last week, and we looked at the side of who actually played in the reverse fixture at Plymouth, and there was only 2 players who actually played in the game earlier in the season. So you just think the title winning side's been they all went their separate ways. To be honest, you can't begrudge Jack Aitchison, Ebu Adams, Nicky Cadden, Kane Wilson all go in their separate ways. They've earned the opportunity and to do what they want to do in their move. It's just at the same time, Forest Green were kind of left with all the pieces.
And you lost the manager as well. So it was just like, it's a lot to take on, isn't it? Highest they've ever been, League One, I think, as well, isn't it? So it's like... Yeah.
First season in League One ever.
Yeah.
And you've got a very...
manager and your best players.
Yeah. So it was never going to be easy.
No.
I think everyone at the club would have understood that it's going to be a difficult season, but at the same time, a few decisions here and there that just haven't worked out, and you just look back and you think maybe not the right calls at times, but it's also now trying to plan for next season. I think a lot of fans would expect now to be relegated because of such a gap. I think a lot of fans have come around to the idea. Duncan Ferguson is definitely not that way. He's not looking at the table. He's just focusing on improving the players. In his press conferences, he said he isn't even looking at the table. He said it will keep him up at night if he did. Yeah.
So have you followed any of those players that left? Have they done well since leaving Forest Green, or have they just disappeared? Or
So strangely, a lot of them ended up being injured. So what happened last year was they ran a very small squad. To be fair, they didn't get many injuries, and now they're all getting injured this season, which is odd, I know. But it was something that Ian Birch referred to earlier in the season. A lot of the players who played in that squad last season are now injured or getting injured. Jordan Moore-Taylor being one who's currently still at the club, who is injured. He just can't seem to get fit. They seem to have their running outputs last season was so large that they've ended up getting injured this season. So maybe it's a bit of a hangover from that.
Yeah.
At some point, it was always going to catch up with them being such an intense style of play, and everybody moving their separate ways has ended up being on the injury table in different circumstances.
That's annoying. That must be frustrating. Right, so let's go to current playing squad now. So I only really know Charlie Savage. How's he getting on? And then is there anyone apart from him who you think could hurt us? And when you do go down, who you might think someone might cherry pick and think they could do a job for them?
Yeah, Charlie Savage has had a good start. It was a real nice moment when he did get his first senior goal, and I turned around and you could see Robbie Savage celebrating on the TV. That was
I saw that clip.
I looked one way and I could see Savage celebrating. I could turn one way and Savage was celebrating in the corner. So it was a real nice moment to see that. And yeah, he's getting on well. It took up a bit of a different role last week, playing a lot more forward than I think he would have wanted, but running they literally in January there was 11 signings, 11 outgoings, and now he's struggling to fill a bench. It's really, really strange. But Savage is getting on well, and he turned down Wales duty in the week.
Yeah, I saw that.
He wanted to stay and keep the fight going, but it's also because they don't have a lot of players as it is. So
yeah,
I think that was a welcome thing to have Charlie still around, and
that shows good attitude of the player, and that's something what gets thrown at footballers a lot, especially these days. A younger talent, but they're not even. I mean, because Charlie Savage could think I'm not Forest Green and I'm not going to be here next season. Like, why do I care? But for him to actually say that, I think that's good character.
Yeah, and still only a young lad as well.
Yeah.
Just you got to have the right people around you. I think Robbie Savage was quite adamant in the fact that he wants to come to a side who is fighting relegation, because you got to appreciate in football that it's not always going to be going for titles, going for promotion, going for playoff campaigns. It is going to be hard at times going into a dressing room that's so low on confidence, absolutely shattered. So you've got a lot of things to really go into a group, and to be fair to him, he's come out and he will get a very good thing from coming to Forest Green at this stage of the season.
Yeah.
The only thing is a relegation on the CV is the only thing that you can look at.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to harm him. I don't think that will harm him, to be honest.
Not at all, and I think he'll see it as a great learning curve coming into a dressing room that is like that. It's not always going to be easy.
No.
Players, it's tough. Who's going to keep a move? I think Corey OKeefe has done well this season, but he's suspended at the weekend. He got yellow card against Plymouth, and he's out for 2 games. So you won't have to.
Is he a good player?
We'll have to watch out for him. Corey OKeefe has had a good season. Very off the cuff, but he does get a lot of assists. Right. So sometimes if you're trying to play a really rigid shape, I think Corey can be found out sometimes. But absolutely, he's a great asset. Going forward, he gets a lot of assists. I think his best position is right back, but he's playing right wing at the moment. Okay. Just has that little bit of extra time to get in the quality ball, and he's less having to go at players. He's more picking out a delivery, and he really does have good delivery. So I think he'd be more suited to that.
Well, it's good job he's not playing then, because I think that's our biggest weakness. Is always been crossing. So not as much this season, but that helps.
Another thing is how physical Sheffield Wednesday are. It could be a real mismatch when it comes to aerial duels, and even just last week against a Plymouth side who aren't necessarily going to be loading the box with men trying to get heads on it. I feel like it could be a real mismatch if it goes physical.
Yeah, we've got some big stags in our team. Aidan Flint being one of them. He's an absolute mammoth for a man, isn't he? So they have a good game against Barnsley. I think they're going to have to react against that Barnsley, and I think from an arrogant, cocky point of view, playing a team of minus 40 goal difference is probably the best team to play against after you've just lost your unbeaten run.
I think averaging almost 2 goals a game as well. It's you'd expect to score a couple of goals against Forest Green. You'd be disappointed if you don't.
Take it they've sold out. Is it a bit of buzz around the? I mean, I know it's not like Sheffield Wednesday of old turning up, but it still must be, for some fans who've supported Forest Green, must be huge for them. Yeah.
I believe that is pretty full. I think there was 5,100 against Bristol Rovers, so it'd probably be in the same sort of ballpark.
Right.
So, which is really decent crowd, if you're thinking about it. But Forest Green Rovers, from where they've come from, but yeah, it'd be good to see another really big sized club coming down to Forest Green, and it's a little bit.
Who's came down so far? Has Derby been there and stuff yet? Is it like out the big ones?
I don't think I've seen Derby. I've seen Ipswich very early in the season. Plymouth.
Yeah.
Bristol Rovers was a good one, because they don't have far to travel, do they? So
would that be classed as their like biggest derby? I literally know nothing about Forest Green, mate. So this is like all new to me.
It's West Country derby, so it's
Right.
not too far away. First game of the season, Forest Green went down there, and that was a really good occasion. It was still Blair and sunshine at the time, and didn't feel like football then. It just felt like just going into a new season. It was just going to be all hunky dory again. But how things change when the rain starts to kick in the cold afternoons.
So before we wrap it up, Duncan Ferguson, must admit, I think a lot of people saw that breaking news on Twitter and stuff when they got him. And shocking, really. I thought that was quite a big appointment, really. It's like because like Everton fans have always said give him the job. So if Everton fans are saying give him the job to the end of the season or give him the permanent job, that shows you how high they regard him as. He's never really done a bad job when he's been in charge of Everton. I think he's only won one game when he was in charge of Everton. But when you become interim manager, it's not because your team's doing absolute dire. So, but it's a big name, isn't it? And getting him in to Forest Green, it brings a lot of exposure to the club.
It's exactly that. It's exposure to the club, and it gives Duncan Ferguson a great opportunity to get his first role in senior management as well. I think he said from the off he wanted to do it the hard way. Someone like playing Bristol Rovers, Joey Barton, for example, he went into League One, went into Fleetwood, tried to do it a little bit more difficult, if you know what I mean. Not just. I think he also probably at the time thought 11 years at Everton, loved by Everton fans, and it's amazing how many times we go to grounds and everybody wants a picture with Dunk. But he's brilliant for that. He's a brilliant man to speak to everybody, and he genuinely wants to talk to everybody. He wants to hear people's stories, and sometimes you think to yourself, you're just sitting there and smiling because it is nice that people do idolise him in areas, and it's incredible that Forest Green have been able to attract a name like that to Gloucestershire. It surprised me at the time, and I couldn't believe my eyes when it was all unfolding.
Yeah, what type of football is he playing? Because obviously at Everton, whenever he took over at Everton, it was always like let's just make it compact and hard to beat. Basically, I imagine that's what he's going to do for you this season. But surely next season he's going to go for the aim's going to be promotion again, is it not?
Yeah, I'd say so. 4-3-3 is straight from the off what we saw.
Right.
It was interesting that first game at Shrewsbury how he was going to set up. It's hard to get too much of a gauge from the first opening games, but I think once he gets his players who he trusts, he believes in, I'm sure they'll start to see a bit more in the way of how we want Duncan Ferguson to play. He wants to play with width, playing 4-3-3. Birch used to adopt like a 3 at the back with wing backs in more of a 3-5-2 sort of formation.
Seems to be the trend these days, isn't it, that formation?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of teams do it, and I did ask him once, are you seeing that a lot more? And he said, yeah, you see it a lot more in the lower sort of divisions because of teams wanting to be compact more often than not, but it's becoming a major tool, isn't it? You're seeing a lot of clubs, especially in League One, adopting that sort of formation.
Yeah, what we play as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Plymouth the same. Plymouth's getting a lot of joy from it. So in the press conference, he said that pretty much how Plymouth play, it could be the same sort of tactics, which was odd because we play without a striker. So there's no striker on the pitch on Sunday. It could be a very similar strategy. It was kind of like a box formation. It was like a 4-4-2, but the two wingers were very inverted and stay in that compact shape. If they're delivering crosses from deep, and then pretty happy with that, try and back yourself. But at the same time, if you offer too many crosses to Sheffield Wednesday, then they're gonna probably get
Smith and Gregory up top will most likely be the partnership up top. I mean, they're two big lads. They love an header. Yeah, and then we've got some good crosses of the ball, especially Marvin Johnson and Reece James if he plays. So
either way, it's going to be a really difficult task, and I think deep down Ferguson probably knows that.
Yeah, I mean we have to react from a Wednesday point of view. I mean, I think it's the first time this season where we've took 1 point out of 6. So it's like probably the worst run we've been on all season. I can't remember. Do you know what I mean? I can't remember taking anything like. We definitely haven't lost 2 in a row. So it's going to be. So this is literally the worst we've played all season these past 2 games, results wise.
In front of the cameras again as well.
Yeah. So on Sky, it's huge for Forest Green. We've got to react. We've just gone through a record-breaking unbeaten 23 games, which might not ever happen again in my lifetime because the club's 156 years old. And it's happened once. You know what I mean? This season it's happened for the first time ever. So it was a remarkable journey. I mean, I said on our main show this week, but I'd rather we drew with Barnsley and lost it to Forest Green, as having them take the unbeaten streak was a bit annoying. So I want to see 11 snarling beasts on that pitch on Sunday and really go at Forest Green Rovers and because a lot of people on Twitter now from Ipswich and Derby and stuff and Barnsley are thinking we're going to blow the title. So I think they need to make
still in a great position is what you can think, and I believe Ipswich have got a bit of a tough run in as well. Yeah. So just if you're in that position, it's about keep holding your nerve, isn't it? If you can't often argue with where you finish in the table because the table doesn't lie, does it?
Not at all, mate. Right, and Josh, it's been great speaking to you. Before we go, quick prediction.
I would say 3-1 to Sheffield Wednesday.
All right. Well, I'm going to go 5-0.
I couldn't quite go that high.
Right. Cheers, pal.
Thank you very much.
Balls.
Ghoulies.
Chaps.
Tackle.
Knackers.
Chaise long and armchairs.
Dangleberries.
Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and Shed Travel Bag. Bring your comfort and boxers to another level.
Cojones.
Pebbles.
Gonads.
Plums.
Family jewels. Brass clankers.
The 4th generation trimmer features our cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. It's also waterproof and has a 4K LED spotlight if you need a more advanced shave.
Eggs.
Itchy and Scratchy. Mitchell Brothers.
Jewels.
Hanging Brain.
Twin bank robbers.
Chaps. Walnuts.
Gobstoppers.
Gooseberries.
Stabilizers.
The Manscaped 4.0 bundle. It reduces your risk of getting an ingrowing hair, it keeps them clean, it keeps them tidy, and it also increases your chance of fellatio by about 15%. That works out about 2% if you're married. So, you know. Anyway, enter the code TWW20 into the checkout. That's TWW20 into the checkout, and you can get yourself a 20% discount. Not too shabby, eh?
For our European listeners, Velata, Testicular,